Gallantmon returns and it can now rush, delete, blitz, and trash your opponent's security all in one go, making it stronger than before. Digimon fans, welcome back, and today we'll be showcasing the brand new and updated version of the Gallantmon deck. The all-new BT13 Gallantmon is a fantastic addition for the deck, giving it a very powerful level 6 that you can get into alternatively. By comboing with all the other effects from the original deck version, you can easily clear your opponent's board. Then, the even cooler thing is that the new Gallantmon can even be hard played with reduced cost by itself, making surprise attacks. I will show you guys the new way how to play this deck later, so let's begin with the deck profile first. Alright, like always, let's begin with our Digi-Egg cards, 4 copies of Digimon, just simply again, always the best Gallantmon Egg and Digi-Egg to be playing specifically for the deck, just because of when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has Gilmon, Groundmon, or Gallantmon in its name, you always get to draw 1, and yeah, drawing power is always great, finding pieces, find more cards is really always what you're looking for. Now let's get into our rookies. Of course, you still want to be playing the 4 copies of the best Gilmon, which is from EX2. This Gilmon particularly is your main on-play searcher, revealing top 4 cards to your deck, adding 1 card with Groundmon or Gallantmon in its name, and 1 Takado among them to your hand. Place the remaining back to the bottom, and then it has the inheritable of when attacking once per turn. If this Digimon has Groundmon or Gallantmon in its name, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. Great for removing floodgate rookies or smaller stuff in general. You can rack up DP based with deletion effects. Overall, and this is just again one of the best rookies because it has value whether you're digivolving in your stack or you're hard playing it, which ideally you mostly want to be hard playing this one in most cases because it can just grab you things that you're going to be really needing for your combos. And then as we continue with other Gilmons, we got 2 copies of the BT12 one, which also is an on-play searcher. This one's a little bit different because this one reveals top 4 and just grabs you all Takados from among them to your hand, and then you bottom deck the rest. Also just a really good one in general. Takados is definitely going to be crucial for the deck. You do want to find them as much as you can, and with its inheritable, it's great because of your turn while this Digimon has Groundmon or Gallantmon in its name, extra 2000 DP, which gives Gallantmon the extra DP that it really needs to survive battles and security checks. Then continuing on, we have 2 copies of the EX4 Gilmon right here. This one can digivolve for 0 on top of Digimon, so you don't have to worry about its 1 digivolving cost at all. It has a on play. If the total number of cards in both players' trash are 20 or more, this Digimon gains rush for the turn. And yeah, so being able to rush, make an extra attack and whatnot is definitely what you're trying to go for with this particular guy. Did you guys know that I actually posted this deck list way earlier on the Avault Club membership tab already? So if you guys want to see first drafts and deck updates before anyone else, then be sure to join right now, which also really helps support the channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like while you're at it to stay tuned for more Digimon videos too. Then to continue with more Gilmons, we got 4 copies of Gallantmon X right here, digivolving for 0 specifically on top of Gilmon. When digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less, and then with its inheritable, you get to add extra 1000 DP to the maximum DP based chosen deletion effects with all your sort of synergy and combos and going on forward. You guys might be questioning that 4 copies is a little bit too much, and some of you guys might only prefer playing 2 so they can bump up the other Gilmons, which is totally fine and totally up to your personal preference as well. Juggle between on the ratios. I think the only one that you have to stick to a 4 of no matter what is the EX2 one in particular, once again like I mentioned. And I just like the 4 copies of Gallantmon X because you can always easily, digivolve it for free, and you can cycle a card to, help you unbrick situations and continue to build your stack a little bit more easily and consistently. So yeah, that's the reason why I run the 4 copies here. That's it for our rookies. Let's talk about our level 4s now. 4 copies of the brand new Black Groundmon here. This one can digivolve on 2 costs on top of Gilmon and its name, so really, you're not going to be paying the 3 memory. When digivolving, both players trash the top 2 cards of their deck, and you get to return 1 Gilmon or 1 card with Groundmon or Gallantmon in its name from your trash back to your hand. Really, really good for kind of like pseudo searching, but also setting up cards in trash, which is going to come in handy and really, really good value for later on to combo on with your bigger combos. And being able to grab anything you want in the mid stages and the late game stages really helps, again, consistently build your stack. And I think this is one of the best Groundmons that you have to play 4 copies of in most Gallantmon decks in this current stage. And with its inheritable, it has on deletion, letting you also do the exact same thing with its when digivolving effect to grab something back. Just a really fantastic card, which I really like. Then Still, 3 copies of the starter deck 7 Gallantmon. You guys can bump this up to 4 based on your personal preference as well. Just a very simple generic effect with inheritable. Your turn once returned when opponent's Digimon is deleted. You get to gain a memory, so yeah, definitely always good to have when it comes to comboing as well. Then, last but not least, for all the rest of Gallantmons, 3 copies of the BT12 one, letting you play a Tocado from your hand for when Digivolving if you don't have one in particular. And like you guys know, and like I mentioned, and as always for Gallantmon decks, Tocados are so crucial, therefore you want to be playing them as much as you can. Therefore, having this in the early stages of the game, letting you play one for free, is always going to be really good value because then you can rack up the other ones continuing, and you know, the more you rack up the better it is. And as well as inheritable extra 2000 DP, definitely really needed for some of the Gallantmon stuff for sure. That's it for our level 4s. Let's talk about our level 5s right here. Still, I like to play the 4 copies of the BT12 Gallantmon in particular. Digivolving for 3, where when Digivolving, delete when your opponent's Digimon with 4000 DP or less. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, you get to Digivolve this Digimon into a level 6 Digimon card with Gallantmon in its name in your hand for the Digivolution cost, and then if you do Digivolve via this effect, you get to reduce the cost by 1. And then with its inheritable end of attack once returned, if your opponent has no Digimon in play, and this Digimon has Gallantmon or Gallantmon in its name, gain 2 memory. Again, I'm going to show you guys how good this card really is when it comes to comboing, controlling, and, you know, being very effective in terms of going all the way to your level 6 very, very quickly with this particular guy right here, which is why I still think that, you know, for all the things that this guy does, I definitely want to play the 4 copies no matter what. Then, moving on to the other War Gallantmon, we're just playing the 4 copies of this one in particular. Again, a really good valuable card that you want to be seeing as often as you can. Ignore the 4 Digivolve cost with the purple requirement as well, because you're going to be using its black box text to Digivolve for 3 with level 4 that contains Gallantmon in its name. So then when Digivolving, both players trash top 3 cards of their decks. Then if a player has 5 or more cards in their trash, whether you or your opponent, you get to play 1 Gallantmon or 1 Tocado from your trash without paying the memory cost. And again, this helps you rack up more Tocados. If not, you get to play Gallantmons to continue your searching and whatnot and utilize their on-play effects, which is, yeah, really good value card for sure, like I mentioned before. And yeah, this is the secondary War Gallantmon, and 4 copies is a must. That's it for all our level 5s. Let's talk about our level 6s right here. 3 copies of the BT12 Gallantmon still, just because it is still so versatile with its effect. It does cost 4 to Digivolve, but you guys can combo with the BT12 War Gallantmon to reduce its cost, making it kind of effectively 3. It has the raid. When Digivolving, delete something that 6000 DP or less that your opponent has. And then when attacking, you get to delete when your opponent's Digimon with 6000 DP or less as well. And repeat the same thing. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, you trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Being able to trash security is going to be, you know, great pressure, great offensive strategies. You can, you know, take down security quickly. That's the whole idea with this whole Gallantmon still, which is definitely your main go-to for sure, because again, I think this is the best Gallantmon out of all the ones that we have. Now, for the new cool one that we have right here, which is really, really magnificent. 2 copies of the brand new Rush Gallantmon. This one does cost 5 to Digivolve, which is a lot, but that's totally okay because it does have an effect of when you play this card from your hand, if you have no other Digimon, you get to reduce the play cost with 2 for every 5 cards in the total of both players' trash. In the late game stages, you guys can see that you've been milling, and when you have been milling, you can be potentially playing this guy for a very minimum cost. You can play for 3, you can even play for 1, you know, depending on the matchup as well. And being able to do that, you get to get Rush, and with its on-play when Digivolving and when attacking effect, which is not once per turn, which gives it the versatility for you to synergize with your entire Gallantmon deck of whether you want to hard play it or Digivolving it, and you still get that effect where it deletes when your opponent's Digimon with 6000 DP or less. If no Digimon is deleted by this effect, you get to delete a 13k or higher instead. And yeah, this is a really great new addition. Really like this card. This card surprisingly came in clutch in so many of my games, especially in the late game stages, because that just gives you an instant attack that's super quick and your opponents don't even see it coming. And then you can combo and do a lot of crazy things all together. And yeah, just a really, really nice new addition Gallantmon. A very strong one as well based on DP, 13k being that one of the highest that we have so far. And yeah, really cool looking artwork. Really happy with BT13 support now with improving this deck. Then continuing with our level 6s, 2 copies of Gallantmon X here, just to round off. Just really good for Digivolving for 1 on top of Gallantmon with its when Digivolving effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP, and then if nothing's deleted, you can unsuspend this guy right here, and then your turn once returned when opponent's Digimon is deleted. If Gallantmon or X Antibody is in this Digivolution cards, you get to trash your opponent's top card security stack, so more trashing, more stuff, which is always really fantastic and really great. And then, yeah, again, with this guy, you can control the board even more, or potentially even clear the boards that your opponent has, because you're deleting so many things over and over again. You're just racking up as you're Digivolving into your top end stuff. Yeah, just a fantastic card as always. And I think a 2 of is definitely at least minimum. Then last but not least, to round off our level 7s, 2 copies of the Crimson Mode. Again, just a really strong, powerful card, just to swing for game. Some of you guys only want to play 1 just because you guys might feel like a lot of level 6s and 7s may be a little bit bricky, but that's totally okay, because I do want to see this as often as you can. This card can actually help you end games. You do want to get into it in the mid stages or late stages of the game just because of how powerful it is, especially in the late games. You just swing, blitz combo, which I'll show you guys later as well, again, and you trash your opponent's security and you can just easily swing for game. And yeah, just a super strong card for sure, even for the 6 cost. And again, also deletes everything that your opponent has with the highest DP on their board. That's it for all of our Digimon. Let's talk about our Tamers. Definitely, Timecodes is really all we're playing. And of course, very standard as per usual. I like to play 4 copies of the EX2 Timecodes in particular. For the 3 cost, when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, you can suspend this Tamer to gain a memory, whether it's by effect or by battle, giving you a lot of, like, you know, combo synergy with your deletion effects as well. And then your turn once per turn, when your Digimon will Digivolve into a Digimon with Groundmon or Gallantmon in its name, the Digimon gains when Digivolving Blitz. So then you can make sure you make an attack, resolve your when attacking effects at the same time all together, so then you can get the most optimal play and value out of everything when you put all of it together. Therefore, having multiple copies of this guy is always fantastic as well, because then, you know, you can gain multiple memory, and it's definitely really nice to have for sure. Then we still play at least the 3 copies of the BT12 Timecodes right here. Not only is your memory tamer, it does let you biomerge Digivolve with its main effect by placing this tamer and 1 Groundmon and 1 War Groundmon from your trash in any bottom any order under the Digivolution stack as a Gallantmon. That Digimon may Digivolve into Gallantmon, specifically not in its name though, it has to be Gallantmon in your hand for the cost, ignoring the level. The Digimon Digivolve by this effect gets extra 2000 DP for the turn. Does come in clutch every now and then, so that you can go for some crazy combos, especially if you have the other Timecodes giving you the Blitz at the same time. So then you can, yeah, go for more popping stuff. Immediately just go into your Gallantmon, utilizing your trash as resources as well, and you do mill quite a bit, so, you know, really great late game combo for sure when you definitely see this guy alongside with a Gilmon. Then that's it for our Tamers. Let's now talk about our options. Just 3 copies of Red Memory Boost, really standard staple stuff just for additional searching, gaining memory so you can make more plays, you know, finding more pieces with this particular deck is definitely more efficiently than what we're trying to look for. And then last but not least, for the final option, I'm just playing 1 Crimson Blaze currently. Just really good for the current meta, really great for dealing against wide boards. You can potentially reduce its cost when you use this option card based on how many Digimon your opponent has, you know, reducing it by 1 for every Digimon they have to, deleting everything that has 6000 DP or less, and then it also prevents your opponent from playing any Digimon by effects until the end of their turn, so you can stall it out a little bit. Really good against Royal Knights, really good against like Bloom Lord and like those plant vegetation decks overall, so therefore a 1-off tech is definitely what I'm looking for and really want to have this for particular build. That's it for the 50 card main deck. Now let's show you guys some other suggestions and other cards that you guys can add in to sort of switch up the playstyle a little bit and spice it up even more. First, we definitely still have the Starter Deck 7 Gilmon right here, which lets you warp Digivolve, which is kind of nice with the 4 cost. Alongside with Timecodes, once again, you can potentially blitz, so paying the 4 memory is not bad at all if your opponent, as long as your opponent has a level 6 on their side, so then when you have this guy. But also with its inheritable, letting you draw a card when the opponent's Digimon is deleted as well, is the draw power that's kind of nice to give when it comes to the rookie. Then we also have a Gallantmon right here, which is kind of neat to have for sure. For the 3 cost, you know, when you play this Digimon card from your hand, you get to reduce the play cost by 2 if you either had like a Gilmon, Terriermon, Renamon, or Impmon in play, and then your turn this Digimon can't attack. Therefore, it's really more like a sort of like a cool boy on legs type of thing, but it can't attack, so I guess it's kind of just like a Digimon that floats there and give you a little bit of support, because with its secondary effect is that your turn, when one of your Digimon Digivolves, you can suspend this Digimon to gain a memory and draw 1, and then have that Digimon gain extra 3000 DP for the turn. So like I mentioned, it's kind of very similar to like Cool Boy, which is kind of nice to dedicate for any like sort of Digimon Series 3 with the anime supports in particular right here. But the only reason I don't play this card is because it's just very susceptible to many different kinds of removal, and it's kind of like matchup dependent when it comes to giving the best value overall, which is why I don't really like this card as much. And then otherwise you can be playing Solarmon. Kind of don't really recommend playing this just because there's a lot of in-archetype synergy that you need to have when it comes to like having Guildmon names. But Solarmon is a very strong meta call, depending on the meta, especially in BT13 right now. You know, with stuff being, you know, reduced with its hard play cost, this can be a very good counter against like Blue Flares and Royal Knights and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely still a decent consideration to have. Then for another ground one you guys can be playing is the EX3 one right here. Digivolving for 2 on top of Guildmon. Its effect is not on deletion, just so you guys know this card has an errata. I said this so many times. And yeah, so it's a when Digivolving effect, not on deletion, just so you guys know. It deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. If no Digimon is deleted via this effect, both players trash those top 2 cards of their deck. So really good synergy when it comes to, you know, racking more cards in trash if you really need to. And with its inheritable, when attacking once per turn, you delete one of your other Digimon to have this Digimon gain security +1. Kind of nice to have if you want to go for offensive style. I feel like Gallantmon sometimes doesn't really go as wide. You're trying to build one stack most of the time, so you don't really get to use that effect as often, which is why I don't really like to play this card as much. Then for more milling turbo strategies, then you can play this Black War Groundmon, Digivolving for 3 on top of Groundmon in name. When Digivolving, trash top 3 cards of both players' decks. Then choose any number of your opponent's Digimon that their DP is up to 3000 and delete for every 10 cards you have. And both players' trashes as a total, you get to add extra 2000 to the maximum DP based on this deletion effect. Like the other War Groundmon that trashes, and also kind of like War Growl X at the same time to control the board even more. The only downside I don't really like about this one is it doesn't provide an inheritable, so I'm not too sure about it, but definitely a really good one if your strategy is a mill-based strategy. Since we did talk about War Groundmon X, I did take it out now, and I'm playing more of the simple War Groundmons overall. I feel like there's really no need to go into War Groundmon X. It is nice to Digivolve for 0 so they can like cycle for 1 more card, pop more things, and control the board and gain more memory, which I do kind of miss every now and then. But at this moment, for this most recent build, I'm just switching it out and trying it out and see how it goes. So I think this card is very likely going to be making its like way back every here now and then. Just depends on my personal playstyle and preference. So same for you guys as well. Then if you guys want more even aggression, you can still play this Gallantmon from Star Deck 7. Simple, just 3 Digivolve, security +1, you know, so they can deal more damage. Now you have a bit more sort of DP increasing effects in your stack. You know, you don't have to worry as much with this guy anymore. This guy itself can also potentially gain more DP because of when attacking, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 4000 DP or less. If nothing's deleted, it gains extra 3000 for the turn. So yeah, really good early game card again. Just with 3 costs, is very memory efficient. So pretty strong card if you want to like to swing fast too. Then a really cool spice right here. We got Medieval Gallantmon right here. Just a really nice, interesting effect with its security effect because it lets you play it without battling and without paying the memory cost. And then at the end of the turn, you get to return this back to your hand. So kind of neat. It would be a little bit cooler if you can actually stay on board, but maybe a bit too strong. It has the on play when attacking effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6000 DP or less, so it can come out as kind of like a security bomb. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and that Digimon doesn't unsuspend during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. So again, kind of neat, but it does cost 4 to Digivolve. It's a kind of, again, really interesting tech card that you guys can be playing in Gallantmon based decks because it definitely does help out here and there. And yeah, just a really cool alternative with the X version of Gallantmon. Last but not least, we can play a signature move, Lightning Joust. You guys know what it does for the 1 cost. Main, one of your Digimon gets extra 2000 DP for the turn. Then if the security number of cards of yours is less than or equal to the opponent's, one of your Digimon gains extra security +1 for the turn. So you can go for some hyper aggressive plays all of a sudden and go for a burst combo if you ever need to. And yeah, since it's Gallantmon's signature move, every now and then, always a good recommendation. That's it for all the cards I want to talk about. Let's go into the combos and how to play this particular deck. Honestly, it hasn't changed too much. The overall strategy for Gallantmon is still the same. You're trying to Digivolve for your stack and let your stack do all the work and control the board and delete things overall. So therefore, when it comes to mulligan and seeing your opening hand, you really just want to seeing your, Digivolution line from your level 3s to your level 4s and 5s, and then eventually to your 6s and 7s and so on. Seeing a full clear line is really what you're trying to go for. So let's just talk about what the cards you want to be playing. Of course, you hatch your egg and you would Digivolve into your Guildmon. Ideally, like I mentioned before in the beginning, you want to be hard playing this one if you have a secondary Guildmon in your hand, just because you can search grab yourself a Tocado, which is super important, and then or also grab yourself a Growlmon type of thing, and Gallantmon and whatnot. Therefore, Digivolving into another Guilmon is more ideal. If you don't really have another line of play, then maybe Digivolving and building that stack and continue to cycle through cards is really important. And this is why I do like the Guilmon X, because if you do see like Guilmon and Guilmon X, it's instantly 2 free cards to help you cycle through your deck immediately. And this is when you want to be choosing where you want to be Digivolving your Black Growlmon, or whether if you have a Growlmon options when it comes to it. Of course, if you have Tocado in your hand and you have no Tocado in the board, definitely Digivolve into this one, because then you can immediately play one of the 2 Tocados that you have, whichever you have during the situation. Ideally, probably the Memory Tamer one, just because it's a bit more memory efficient. But otherwise, in a different situation, Digivolve into the Black Growlmon right here to cycle and find more pieces, grabbing yourself the Growlmon, making both players to trash. That's really what it's going for, so that you can find your pieces constantly, pretty frequent. And then the one that I would rather Digivolve in the raising, because there's no one Digivolving effects, would be this particular Growlmon right here, and stack it up like that. So play as you do, go for whatever you want. But the next cards you really want to be seeing is, let's go for the BT12 War Growlmon combo play first, alongside with the BT12 Gallantmon. We showed this case before, but showing again is totally fine. So depending on whatever you have, you start your memory at 1 even. If you had a Memory Tamer, then great. If you had Tocados, you can suspend stuff and do stuff. So we'll see as the situation goes. But anyways, you can push this up, or if you have a level 4 on the board, you immediately just Digivolve into this War Growlmon by paying the 2 cost. If you delete your opponent's stuff, then great. You get to basically increase the deletion by extra 1,000 as well. Pretty nice. But if nothing's deleted, then you can just go into the Gallantmon here for the cost. Now you get to reduce the cost by 1, so paying 3 instead. You put your opponent to 5, which is totally fine as well, because at this particular moment, you might delete something with 6k. And if you do delete something with 6k, you get to increase that by 1k, so 7k. You can suspend a Tocado to gain a memory. If you do, the Growlmon gains you a memory as well. So going back to 3 memory, and that's totally fine. And having the 3 cost Tocado is super crucial, because then you can now blitz and attack. So you can either raid and do some shenanigans with it, and basically pop another 6k. If nothing is popped, you trash your opponent's security. And then if you do, and then now you get to swing over something. And once you remove your opponent's stuff on the board, if they don't have a Memory Tamer, this is fantastic, because with its end of attack, you gain another 2 memory back, ping everything off. And that's how crazy with this entire combo is, even with you just starting your turn at 1 memory. You guys can imagine, if you have 3 memory, then that means you're going to be still at your turn, because then that means, you had started at 3, pay for the Growl, and then pay for the 3, and then gain like 1, gain the 2, and then gain here. You're now back to 1. And you can continue to combo on after all, which is super cool, because then you can now Digivolve for 1 into Gallantmon X Antibody. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. If you already cleared their board and nothing's deleted, you unsuspend this guy right here. And this is one of my favorites when it comes to the late game. Very, very simple. Once you racked up enough cards in your trash, now you get to Digivolve even for 6. Which is quite a lot of memory to pay, but if you're able to sort of juggle around your memory and sort of play around it, or even if your Gallantmon floated from the prior turn, you can get into this guy based on the situation and the board state. But now, again, you can blitz. And then blitz, again, you trash your opponent's security. You trash 1 first, and then you increase the number of you trashing for every 10 cards in your opponent's trash. And now you guys can see with the Black Growlmon and all the different Growlmons you're playing now, you get to mill your opponents even more. So it helps you increase the numbers of trashes, so then you can potentially trash 2 or 3 cards with this and instantly swing for game just like that, which is absolutely crazy and bonkers. But anyways, rewind a little bit back here. That's the BT12 War Growlmon combo. Let's talk about the simple other War Growlmon. This one's really good for establishing more value and giving you setup if you don't see as many cards in your pieces, just because if you Digivolve into this one for 3 costs, both players trash the top 3 cards of their deck, and then immediately, if there's 5 or more, you can play another Tocado, you can play another Guilmon, if you will, right here, and then continue to search if you need. And like I mentioned earlier in the deck profile, having multiple Tocados is always great. The more you rack up, the more, memory you can potentially be gaining back when you delete your opponent's stuff. And then afterwards, you do the same thing. Typically, you just Digivolve back into this Gallantmon for the 4 cost, delete things, and then you get to suspend and gain memory and all that kind of stuff, and repeat that same top end combo afterwards, just like that. Otherwise, looping back to the original combo, which I want to show you guys, alongside, with Digivolving into a Guilmon, and then Digivolving into a Growlmon, and then you have a War Groundmon and when Digivolving. You know, sometimes you can still also not go into the BT12 one, you can go into the brand new Gallantmon as well with it. And then with the other Takado, if you have the Blitz, right here you have the when Digivolving, pop something with 6k or less, and you'll have the Blitz so they can use this when attack to pop other things as well and continue like that. And if you pop any things, you know, clear the opponent's board, you could gain a bunch of memory back just like that and do the same thing, and then top off with Gallantmon X to pop even more things and do the crazy stuff. If you don't pop, you get to unsuspend. So really good versatile new Gallantmon right here, which does very similar things with the older one from BT12 when it comes to like popping, controlling the board, repeating this, and just clear your opponent's board crazily and then just combo through that way, which I really like with this new edition, and super strong combos too. Let's talk about the Biomerge combo in particular. So if you start your memory at 3 here in particular, you do ideally want to have this Staccato because you want to ensure that you get Blitz. You do need a Gilmon on the board, whether you have it, you know, from raising that you push it out, or whether you have it just there on the board. You know, you do need to require to have a Groundmon specifically. It cannot be Groundmon its name, therefore it has to be either this Groundmon or the other one right here. It can't be your Black Groundmon. And you also need a War Groundmon, which is not Black War Groundmon, so it's either these two once again. So ideally, my perfect choice would be really this War Groundmon, usually just because this one doesn't give any inheritables, and then one or the other of these Groundmons are just great. You know, gaining the memory back is always what you're going to be wanting to go for. So yeah, basically by placing all these guys underneath, you Biomerge into a Gallantmon by paying the cost that it requires. So for this one, it does cost 4. So you do pass to your opponent's turn, which is why you do want to have the other Takado to help you give your Blitz, particularly, so then you can immediately then swing and raid and delete stuff with its when Digivolving and whatnot, and delete more things with this 3k inheritable if you have. And then at the end of attack, you know, you probably gain a memory for deleting something. And like I mentioned, at the end of attack, you can gain a 2 if your opponent has no Digimon. And then you can do the same combo again. Digivolve for 1 into Gallantmon X, and then Digivolve into a Crimson Mode afterwards as well. Now for the other late game combo we want to talk about, that is when you have racked up enough cards in your opponent's trash and both players' trashes. That is potentially when you get to play this guy for 3 costs or 1 cost with reduced cost. You want to make sure you can still retain your turn, but you also have to make sure that you don't have any Digimon on the board. It's very simple. You just play this guy, immediately on play, delete something, and then you get to rush and swing, delete another thing right there, clear the board if you need to, and then you could even then say, if you had, you know, you were at 3, you paid 1 memory to Digivolve it again into this Gallantmon X for 1, you know, you get to delete something. If nothing is deleted, you get to unsuspend it. Now keep in mind, guys, this guy can't attack anymore if it unsuspended. Because of rush, it doesn't gain rush. The rush is only applicable for the Gallantmon underneath. However, it's still kind of decent to continue to clear your opponent's board if you really need to, and then you could go into Crimson Mode once again to finish it off, to pop a lot of things with this particular combo right here. Again, like I mentioned, this card particularly with this combo has popped so many things to help me come back from the games later in the game, and my opponents don't expect that at all, and that's why it's just super strong for the final part of there. And then for the other final part of combo, again, you have 3 memory to start off. Again, let's just say you had the memory Takado. You can easily just even play this Gilmon for the 3 costs and immediately just rush for game right there, and sometimes your opponents won't expect it, which is always nice to have, again, for a surprise attack, just to finish it off just like that. Now wrap up for the deck profile for today. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. What other decks are you guys most excited for the BT13 meta? Once again, be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for more BT13 content. If you guys just can't wait and want to see early deck lists and first drafts, then once again, definitely join the Avault Club. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is Avault signing out.